Your thoughts on the sentence? I mean, this was a recommended sentence from the Crown, correct?
It was a recommended sentence for the Crown, and it's certainly a sentence that is considerable for a 22-year-old. It's also a sentence that is at the upper end of the range for sentences for manslaughter in the province of Nova Scotia, and clearly we wouldn't have recommended it if we didn't feel it was appropriate for Mr. Lamb in the circumstances.
Now, you indicated in your sentencing arguments that Mr. Lamb appears to continue to have trouble with authority. I mean, he's been fighting in jail even while he's been incarcerated awaiting his trial.
Yes, he does. He has an abysmal record, both for criminal record and youth record, as well as his record for violence in the institution. There's no doubt about that. It'll be a long road for Mr. Lamb in terms of rehabilitation.
He indicated he wasn't expecting forgiveness when he spoke to the court. I take it that a 12-year sentence, the hope would be, I guess, there would be some rehabilitation there?
Well, I guess we can always hope. I mean, the prospects at this point aren't looking very good for Mr. Lamb. As I indicated in court, one of the most recent institutional offenses he committed was within a month of being placed on trial for a then charge of second-degree murder. I think that speaks to his ability to control himself and to control his anger and his emotions. But the hope is always that he'll be rehabilitated, and ultimately, at the end of the day, that's the best way to protect society, is if he comes out of the institution having taken advantage of what will be offered to him in terms of programming and counseling and all of those things that are offered in a federal institution. He takes advantage of them. Our hope is that he comes out a better person. If he comes out the same person, then that certainly is going to be a concern for any risk to society.
You've had an opportunity to speak with the family, I'm sure even before today, about the recommended sentence. What was their thoughts, their reaction to this sentence?
I mean, listen, it's very difficult for the family, obviously. We don't equate the number of years that we recommend in terms of a sentence with the loss of the value of the life, the loss that they've suffered. They don't equate. If that were the case, there wouldn't be a sentence that would be high enough, because from all accounts, Jonathan Beaton was a tremendous young man, and this was an absolute senseless killing. He did nothing in terms of being involved in any of what went on that night. So, the family has a difficulty, obviously, with that, but they understood the recommended sentence in advance, and they were supportive of it. They've been supportive of the prosecution all along, and they're a tremendous family. But there's no parallel that can be drawn here in terms of the number of years to be imposed upon Robert Lamb and the loss that they've suffered. There's no way that they can be compensated, and they don't equate.
Yeah, Justice Kennedy took the rather unprecedented step of addressing the family directly from the bench, saying that remarking on their nobility.
Yes, and I think Justice Kennedy was absolutely right. We got to know this family, how tremendously difficult this must have been for them to hear this evidence, to hear the evidence of how their son and their brother was killed, and his attempts to get out of that house with that knife impaled in his stomach. That had to be tremendously difficult, and they held their heads high in this courtroom. They conducted themselves, as he said, nobly, and their grief was expressed through their victim impact statements, which were very eloquently done. They were very measured in terms of what they had to say, and what they wanted to communicate, I think, today was something about Jonathan Beaton. It was about Jonathan Beaton today, as much as it was about Robert Lamb, and I think they did that very well.
Believe that, and that's what this case is about, is coming to a resolution that is good for Mr. Lamb and good for the community as well.
Mr. Lamb said he wasn't asking for forgiveness, but right up to, as the Crown indicated 3 weeks ago, he was still having problems with authority.
That's a whole other dynamic as to his other issues with authority. We've been prepared to discuss resolution of this matter for months and months and months, and it's only when the Crown discovered that it had some troubles that they were prepared to come and talk to us. They're the ones that raised it with us on Monday.
Oh, really? So
That's right.
So it was a Crown proposal for a settlement?
That's right.
So any difficulty making this a joint recommendation? We didn't hear the words joint recommendation until you spoke. We didn't hear it from the Crown.
Well, it was understood, and perhaps they had difficulties saying that. And that's why I was prepared to say it and put it on the record.
What sort of difficulties would there have been with the evidence going forward had this stayed a second-degree murder trial?
Well, your own broadcast outlets' reports would have indicated a number of difficulties that were being experienced with the evidence, and would have given the prosecution pause in dealing with this matter, and that's why we were able to come to an acceptable resolution.
Thank you very much.